Welcome to my jungle. Is this what your garden looks like? Persistent weeds with lots of seed heads that are just determined to frustrate you next year? Well, I have a solution. Let's go talk about it. First thing to know about cover cropping is that soil hates to be bare. If you don't put something there, Mother Nature will. And that's where your weeds come from. I have read several studies. I think one said there's like a 100-year seed bed in any garden at any given time. Weed seed bed. Cover cropping does a few different things. One, you're feeding the microbes in the soil. You're shading out other weeds so that they can't get in and germinate and thrive. Fundamentally, soil does not like to be bare. Mother Nature has a way of protecting herself, and bare soil leads to erosion, which is bad for everyone and everything. So, a lot of no-dig gardeners, no-till gardeners, farmers are moving to cover crops. Cover crops do a few different things. They keep that active biology in the soil, giving them something to eat, and it shades out and starves out the weed seeds that otherwise will take over. You're never going to get rid of weeds entirely. There are certain things like crabgrass and Johnson grass that are just extremely difficult. Thank you. Extremely difficult to manage. Here's a little shot of my rooster. Someone had requested it, and since he's a bit of a diva, I will give him a moment. Farmers normally will plant rows or beds or fields of cover crop, and that'll be the only thing growing. I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm taking a different approach for a few different reasons, which I'll get to in a moment. But the cover crop that I chose to go with this year is peas and oats. Peas are a legume and a great nitrogen fixer. They're also cold hardy. So I'm getting started mid-September with the cover cropping. Now this is going to take me a while because what I'm doing here is going down the beds. I'm pulling weeds, and while flowers are still growing, I'm going to be planting this cover crop. I want to fill in all the gaps, and I want this cover crop taking over so that the weeds can't. Now normally with oats, they will tell you to let it grow until the seed head is at a milky stage and then terminate it so that you're not putting more weed seeds in there. However, as I said, I'm doing this a bit differently. I'm getting a jump start here mid-September. And while my flower garden or my flower farm is still growing and thriving, I'm going to start planting this stuff in now. It's going to give it time to get established. I don't care if the oats drop weed seeds because at the end of the season, after it gets cold and we get some freezes, I'm going to just put a silage tarp over this. And that will smother out. It'll cause any oat seeds to germinate again and then kind of kill them off. So I'm not really concerned. They're going to be tarp for a very long time. And point in fact, I may very well not tarp at all until the spring when things start warming up. That way I kill off any weeds and any weed seeds in the meantime before I plant. Oftentimes where I live, you'll get very warm spells, and then you get another freeze, and then you get a warm spell and a freeze. Those warm spells will really help to kind of make those weed seeds germinate and die off under the silage tarp. And by not tarping till spring, that gives all of the winter snow and precipitation time to kind of permeate the ground, because the last thing I want to create is an extremely desertified area. That'll kill the microbes that I'm trying to grow. Once again, I'm going to start by clearing out the weeds. I'm going to use my hand or a hand rake to lightly rake through the soil and make sure I get all of the roots of the weeds out so that they don't have a chance to kind of thrive. Once all the weeds and the roots are out of there, I'm going to smooth the area out. I'm going to put my seed in, and I'm going to work that in again with my hand or a hand rake. I'm going to water it in well, and that's all there is to it. You want to make sure that it stays watered. I have drip lines running in the area, but there are some spaces in between that might stay dry if I don't keep it watered. So I will, for a short time, if it's not going to rain, make sure I just give it a little drink of water. And I don't really need to do that beyond the kind of germination and growing in stage. As soon as the roots have a chance to get down deep, there's enough moisture in those beds to keep the plants happy. In my rows where I have dahlias, I will work around the cover crop to dig up my dahlias at the end of the season. I can't really dig them up now. One, we're still open. Two, it's too warm. They're thriving. They really need. I find my dahlias do better if I let the frost kind of kill the greenery off, and then snip it down, dry it out, and store it. I have seen people overwintering in my zone dahlias. Takes a lot of work, but I may try a small patch this year. And that's simply where you put a bunch of like leaves. You cut the plants down, put a bunch of leaves, and then layer like burlap and things over it. But here in Northwest Indiana, I mean, I'm right off the lake. We get a ton of precipitation, and I would just be a little worried about the dahlia tubers rotting. And they're such an expensive flower to grow, like to buy the tubers, that I don't know if maybe I'll try it with one that I'm not so fond of. Who knows? We'll see. So, early spring, we are going to terminate the crop that hasn't winter killed. I'm going to lay a silage tarp over it, and I'm going to let that organic matter break down. That'll let any weed seeds germinate and terminate also underneath that silage tarp. And then I'm going to pull it out, and there should be a nice thick mat then that I can just pull apart or pull to the side to plant my plants in the spring, and that will hold down the weeds until the plants that I'm planting have a chance to thrive and kind of shade out those weeds. Once again, you'll always have some weeds, but the weed pressure doesn't have to be so bad. I'm interested to know if you've tried a cover crop. If you have, let me know what you tried and how well it worked down in the comments below. Also, if you have any questions, pop them down below and I'll be happy to answer them. In the meantime, like this video if you like this video, subscribe if you're into this content, and thank you for coming.